Okay, looks like we're live.
Okay, it says we're live. So I'm going to make you the host, and then I'm going to log off.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much for your help.
Thank you.
Okay, looks like we're live.
Okay, it says we're live. Um,
Hey, good evening. It is 5:30 p.m. on Monday, March 17th. We can begin our meeting, and I may be stopping periodically just to make sure there's no one coming in through the waiting room. If you can all hear me okay, we are all streaming live right now, and this meeting needs to be recorded.
I can hear you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, we've got a couple more folks trickling in, so. Get started. Just. Okay, let's get going. We are a minute past 10. Welcome to this public hearing where we will present to you our proposed electric assisted bicycle rule changes. I will spend the first part of this meeting going over the rule background, research, need, and content. Then we will get into the public hearing session. Each registered commenter will have up to 3 minutes to give their testimony, and I will go over the details and instructions when we get to that portion of the meeting. And there will be another hearing with the same information on Wednesday, March 26th at 5:30 p.m. So if you know folks that wanted to make it but couldn't join us today, there's still time to register and attend that meeting next Wednesday. And good afternoon. My name is Jo Niehaus. I'm a policy advisor with the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department. And I've been working on this rule with a lot of folks at the agency and a lot of our partners that have served with us on rules advisory committees and the like. So let me get into this now. A little bit of background. The state park system has e-assisted bike rules that have not been updated for about 7 years. And the technology and availability of e-assisted bicycles have come a long way since. The popularity of these bicycles have increased so much that the legislature has tackled new bills during last year's sessions to redefine the statute and to define e-assisted bicycles and put them into classifications. It also moved them into being recognized more like regular bicycles rather than motorized vehicles, and then also making some special classifications as well. So in preparation for this rulemaking, we conducted and researched rules from other states and land management agencies. We co-presented to a panel at the Oregon Outdoor Recreation Summit with other land managers. We conducted a public opinion survey and had lots and lots of internal discussions from beach ranger town halls to region meetings, and then the implementation of work groups. And then we also were very involved with our rules advisory committee that we'll get into a little bit later in this presentation. Some of the questions that came up as we were doing the research are on this slide. What is the difference between an e-assisted bicycle and a regular bicycle? What about e-dirt bikes and motorcycles? What about one wheels and e-scooters? And a whole host of new technologies that have been coming up recently and that we've been seeing in our state parks and on the ocean shore. Just to put it simply, the rule that went into effect this January 1st is a statute that passed. So it's part of the Oregon Vehicle Code as well, but it recognizes e-assisted bicycles into 3 classes: Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3. And they are all, they have a maximum speed at either 20 or 28 miles. And they must be pedal assisted, or if it is a Class 2 bicycle, it can have a throttle, but it must also have pedal assist as well. And I think I jumped ahead there in my slide. Can you confirm with me if it's the green table slide that's showing up? That should be it. Okay. Well, this table illustrates the bicycle code that went in. The bicycle is a vehicle which is designed to be operated on the ground with no more than 3 wheels, and the wheels must be at least 14 inches in diameter, and the vehicle must have a seat for the rider and be propelled exclusively by human power. So that's a regular bicycle. An electric assisted bicycle are bicycles that are operated by pedaling, but get an extra boost from an electric motor. And those electric assisted bicycles are considered in the vehicle code with the few rules that apply to regular bikes and to e-bikes. And then the minimum age to operate an e-assisted bicycle is 16, and people riding e-bikes may ride in bicycle lanes and on paths, but not on sidewalks. So there's rules that apply for e-bikes that are very that can translate to regular bikes as well, but there is a little bit of confusion now that we're trying to muddle through as well. There's different requirements from cities and counties and other landowners, and they may have their own specific rules about where bikes are and are not allowed. And during our research, we found that there's quite a lot of inconsistency throughout the state, and not just in the land management itself, but in how e-bikes are manufactured and labeled as class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes. So it was really interesting for us to see where this information came up and where we might be able to identify some potential conflicts. So in preparation, we had been hearing a lot about the increased use of e-assisted bicycles. So that was all anecdotal, and we ran a public opinion survey last summer to get more information. We did some in-person events like State Parks Day at the Cove Palisades and End of Summer Festival at Fort Stevens to gather responses directly from visitors. And then we were also able to receive over 3,800 responses online, and that really led us to find out that we need to change and update our rules to be more current and make sure that it is still continuing to serve our visitors that are both using e-assisted bicycles and that they may not be, because we're all park users at the end of the day. Ultimately, we were seeing that the need came from the popularity, and that even though the e-assisted bicycle is still more expensive than a non-assisted counterpart, sales are increasing. Bike tours and rentals are popular in Oregon, especially in areas near recreation areas. And e-assisted bike tours are also on the rise. There are also concerns that people with e-assisted bicycles can now get to places where people generally could not on regular bikes before. And it has also created new concerns for managers and potential conflicts with other users. And the parks need to evaluate the access and safety of the trails and paths. So general safety issues and concerns are also on the rise, and things for us to consider. The development of these proposed changes came through the Rules Advisory Committee for the RAC. This group met 4 times this fall to discuss the current rules, potential conflicts, and what the proposed rules could look like. Typically, our RACs meet once, maybe twice, but for these rule amendments, it was a larger RAC with rules spanning across 2 different divisions. So we met 4 times virtually. It was a diverse group with trails folks, law enforcement, state agencies, and federal agencies, state micro-mobility work group members, recreation groups, park visitors, equestrians, nonprofits, some underrepresented community members, and OPRD staff and rangers, as well as business owners and conservation groups. So subject matter experts also attended the meetings as requested, and we were able to get a lot of really great discussion. Wasn't always consensus, but we were able to come up with some recommendations to staff and then also come up with impact statements as well. The discussions that came from the RAC and also from the internal staff work groups were pretty closely aligned. There were a lot of questions about what we may see, what we were concerned about, what is considered safe and reasonable versus what's reckless. And the 2 most heavily discussed topics were what are realistic expectations of enforcement on staff, and then how do we balance the access to recreation for everyone and resource protection. Even if it's not something as land managers we had imagined 100 or 50 or even maybe 15 years ago for our stewardship plans. There were other questions raised as well that we explored, Some of them we were able to get to realistic answers, and others it really is more of a we need to observe and see what happens. So let's get into the actual rule changes. I'm not going to go over the rules line by line. You can find that on our website. And I will get you that QR code and the website link towards the end of the slideshow. And I'll just hit the highlights here for the major changes. So like I mentioned, this rule amendment spans across two different divisions. We'll start with Division 10, which are the general park area rules. So currently in Division 10, assisted bicycles are only allowed on paths and trails that are 8 feet or wider, and they are allowed on all roads. That's the state highways rule. So the biggest proposed change here that we have is that assisted bicycles can be on trails and paths where specifically allowed and posted for the activity. So it no longer limits it by the width of the trail and path, and then it does not limit by specific classes. We did talk about this quite in depth, but because there's not a lot of consistency by the manufacturers and the ability to identify what is a class 1, 2, or 3 bicycle, and that they can all be utilized safely, we decided to not put the burden of enforcement in trying to navigate what class and identify them for our rangers. So we are hoping that people can follow the rules based on behavior. We have heard lots of concerns that now this means people will be zipping around on e-bikes all over our trails. But our rule is looking at opening this up to where bicycles are already currently allowed. They wouldn't open it up to other areas where they are not. So we have hiking trails that do not allow bikes currently, and they will continue to not allow bikes, whether they are regular or assisted. There may be additional prohibition in certain areas where regular bikes may still be able to go, but assisted bikes cannot for any sort of resource damage issues or safety. And those will be determined by the park managers. We clarified the safe passage and operation language. We particularly wanted to place an emphasis around equestrians and making sure that people were not being reckless on the trail, especially as they're trying to pass people. And then we clarified some language around the ADA use and using assisted bicycles as mobility devices. Go check to see if anyone else is in the waiting room. And then for the second division, we also have some proposed changes in Division 21 for the ocean shores. So currently, the ocean shores rules allow for assisted bicycles only where you can drive a motor vehicle. You can get an exemption from the nearest management unit for ADA needs, but other than that, assisted bicycles are not supposed to be on the ocean shore if there are no cars allowed on that stretch of the ocean shore. Our proposal is to allow assisted bicycles on wet sand areas where designated. This also, again, does not mention a specific class. We are looking at compliance by behavior, and they would be prohibited in certain areas and outlined in the rule, especially in endangered species areas like snowy plover protection areas and where we have different management and marine reserves and other partnered land management. It may be that assisted bicycles are not allowed on certain stretches. So we would have to define that a little bit more clearly through our park management. And then this is the current timeline. Our commission opened the rule for public comment last month, and then we opened public comment. We have started collecting our comments online, and people can continue to mail them to us or write them in. And we are now holding the public hearings. So this is the first of 2 public hearings that we will have. And after the public hearings and after the public comments close, we will look at making updates and drafting some changes. At the end of April, because the public comments close April 1st, we hope to have a new draft and get the proposed rules for the commission to vote on, and they can vote to approve and move forward with the proposed changes, or they could ask for further amendments or ask us to go back and look at the rules again. If it does get approved, so this timeline presented here is contingent on approval, we would move forward towards implementation with an outreach campaign, education, and whatever training staff would need, along with signs and other materials. And we have July 1st as the implementation date in the rule. And just about right on time. So we're going to move on to the public hearing portion now. This hearing is to provide an opportunity for public comment. No decisions will be made at this hearing, and each person will have up to 3 minutes. Commenters will be called in the order that they were registered, and I will call on you and you can unmute and give your testimony and then go back on mute, and I'll call on the next person. The meeting is being recorded and it is being streamed, and it will be available for other people to view, so please keep that in mind. And now I have a long spiel I need to read, with line by line, so bear with me here. This is the public hearing on electric assisted bicycle rules, OAR 736 010 0015 0026 0028 0030 0060 0065 and 0066. Oh, I'm so sorry. I messed up the divisions. So in Division 10, we have 0015, 0026, and 0028. In OAR 736, Division 21, we have 0030, 0060, 0065, and 0066. This hearing is now in session and is being recorded to maintain a permanent record. My name is Joe Niehaus, and I'm the hearings officer. Today is March 17th, 2025, and the time is 5:47 p.m. The purpose of this hearing is to provide an opportunity for public comment on the proposed rule changes to the following administrative rules stated above by the Oregon Parks and Recreation Department regarding updates to the electric assisted bicycle use rules in Oregon State Parks, OPRD managed lands, and on the ocean shore. The agency invites comments about whether other options should be considered for achieving the rules goals while reducing the negative impact on business. In addition to presenting oral comments at this hearing, anyone may submit written comments until 5 p.m. on April 1st, 2025, which is the close of the public comment period. Comments received after the close of the public comment period will not be reviewed or considered by the agency unless the agency decides to extend the public comment period for everyone. Send comments to the public comment mailbox or the state parks office. Those addresses are posted on the PowerPoint slide on my screen. OPRD will not respond to questions during this hearing. After the close of the public comment period, staff will prepare a report to the agency, which will be available from the agency upon request and will be presented to the Parks Commission as they considered adoption of these rules. If you have questions as part of your testimony, I would appreciate it if you could state those questions as concerns for the record. Please do not ask questions of those who are making formal comment. To provide better context for comments, I may ask follow-up questions. To respect each speaker, anyone not presenting has been muted. I ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Again, you may submit written comments up until the close of the public comment period. The chat feature can be utilized for process questions, but we ask that any formal public comment be submitted in writing via email, mail, or online. When it is your turn to comment, you will be moved to the presenter role and a timer will appear on the screen. So the first person to comment today will be Brian. Brian, can you come off of mute, and I will get a timer on our screen and we can begin in just a second. Okay, Brian, whenever you're ready.
Okay, well, looking at the new proposing, the rules looks fantastic in the aspect that we get to go on trails that are with other bicycles. I'm 63, my wife is 60. we were shocked last summer that we were limited to 8-foot wide trails. And that gets real boring real quick for us. So allowing us is fantastic, and I hope the rules go through. Thank you. That's it.
Brian.
Yep.
Go ahead back on mute, and then we'll have Kim. Kim, are you ready for your public comment? We can come back to you. Okay, Kim, we'll come back around. Rebecca, are you prepared to give your comment?
Yeah, this is Rebecca Hope with the Backcountry Horsemen of Oregon, and currently a public lands chair. Also a frequent user of a state park that currently allows bikes and horses to recreate together. We feel that the e-bikes are very concerning to have that mixed use together. Due to the increased speed that we see with e-bikes. We have people who have already been using this park, even though it's not currently allowed. We see them anyway, so enforcement is an issue. And they come up on the horses faster than normal bikes. And the folks that are riding them don't seem to follow the rules of the trail either, as far as being, they seem like they're coming faster, so they are real slow on trying to get slow down and get over to the edge of the trail. Anyway, we feel that the ability, we would like the ability for the park manager to have a little more specific writing in the rules that allow the park manager to say yay or nay for the safety of having e-bikes on trails that are being shared with horses. That's the end of my comments.
Thank you, Rebecca. Colette, are you ready? Colette or Kim, either of you ready? Janet, are you ready for a testimony? Colette, I see your voice in the chat. We'll come back to you after Janet.
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
Go ahead, Janet.
Okay, so first, I am a concerned citizen. I'm also an equestrian and a hiker. I'm a 5th generation Oregonian and lived here all but my military life, and used the parks on my horses and without horses most of the summers. So first of all, I'd like to talk about some statistics on e-bikes. And these statistics came out of New York City, and I understand that New York City is a long way from Oregon. However, there's no Oregon statistics on e-bikes. So while there is, in the first half of 2024, and of course my screen went black, more than 60 incidences of e-bike fires had been reported in New York City, and 5 people died. About 1 in 15,000 e-bikes may experience a fire, and most of all these is due to the lithium-ion batteries. I am in the utility industry and work for a nuclear power company. And the lithium-ion batteries need to come so much farther before we let them into our forest lands. The statistics shows that accidents involving electric bikes is rising and are mostly due to the average speed being higher than in electric bikes than our traditional ones. I have my concerns. E-bikes can travel up to 30 miles an hour, which means that they can get back into the forest, our beloved trails, farther than most people on foot, horses, or also mountain bikes. They can pack their solar panels for charging their bikes overnight. while they're deep in the forest. Charging time is the most critical time for lithium-ion batteries that have meltdowns and cause fires, although fires do occur during the ride. What's Oregon been acutely aware of for the last 5+ years is forest fires, spreading wildfires, losing thousands of acres, homes, structures, and when the wildfires spread. The FFA does not allow lithium-ion batteries to be on airplanes for good reason. Currently, they are not safe for travel. E-bikes should be allowed only on dedicated mountain trail bikes and multi-use trails that are at least 8 feet wide, as the current law states. They should not be allowed on multi-use single track trails that will give fire rescue the ability to get to the bikers if problems occur. My suggestion is that we wait for the technology to catch up. The current batteries do not have the tried and true benefit of time. Let us wait until the evolution of the batteries gets better before we send them into our beloved forests. And my information and my statistics were off of ebikeshq.com. Thank you.
Good timing. Thank you. Colette?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go
Okay,
ahead.
great. So I am Colette Hayes, and I'm with Oregon Equestrian Trails. I'm a horseback rider and hiker. I know a lot of people that own e-bikes, and I appreciate that they enjoy their e-bikes. I do not feel like they should be on a single track trail anywhere. They're quiet and they're dangerous and they go fast. We've been trying, and we constantly try to educate regular bicyclists who are easier to flag down, easier to stop, easier to hear, to make it safe for all of us that like to use the trails. If e-bikes go into and onto all of our single track trails and other trails, what's going to be the argument to stop small dirt bikes? And, what's next? So state parks, I love our state parks. We have beautiful state parks. They're meant for enjoying nature. They're not meant for speeding down the hill or speeding up the hill. And so I hope we get this figured out. I really like that maybe we should, at the least, make sure that they are safe to be out in our forests. And I mean safe for all users, all trail users, but also for our forests, such as what the previous speaker mentioned. So thank you very much for the comment time. And thank you, Joe. That's it.
Thank you, Colette. And then Kim, coming back around to see if you would like to give testimony. If you're having a hard time with your microphone, let us know in the chat.
I finally found it. I'm having trouble with my unmute because I'm on a tablet.
Ah, there it is. Okay, well, the floor is yours.
Yeah, sorry about that. I have a couple of points to make. First of all, I'm concerned that the language governing reckless behavior is inadequate. If I should also say I'm with Oregon Equestrian Trails. I'm a horseback rider and a hiker, and if someone engages in reckless behavior and speeds by me and spooks my horse, or clips me or whatever, they're engaging in reckless behavior, but that's pretty cold comfort if I am now in the hospital. We're not going to have people out on the trails who can enforce the reckless behavior portion of the rules. So I'm not sure what good that does. And I also would say that you don't have to engage in reckless behavior in order to endanger another user just by not being polite, not stopping, not calling out in time. Those are going to be, those could be problematic behaviors in a lot of situations. The second point I'd like to make is that I learned recently that in Post Canyon, which is a Hood River County mountain biking, hiking, equestrian, trail running area. 40% of the mountain bikes are e-bikes. I'm not sure that our state park trails can tolerate a 40% increase in the number of bike users on the trails. What Hood River County found is that huge number of bikes and e-bikes on the trails has completely displaced hikers, equestrians, and trail runners. And I don't want that to happen in our state parks. And my third point is that I've done lots of trolling of the internet to find out which state parks have which rules governing horses and bikes. And there are 10 state parks that don't mix equestrians and bikes on the same trails, which is fabulous. But that's not terribly helpful if you live in Eugene and the nearest place where you can ride without exposure to a horse or to an e-bike is 40 or 50 miles away. Three state parks represent the biggest risk to equestrians. Those are Silver Falls, Elijah Bristow, and Stubb Stewart. And I would really hope that we can define what the process is for getting some of those trails set aside so that e-bikes are not endangering horses and hikers. That's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Okay, and it doesn't look like anyone else has joined us. So I believe I've called the names of everyone who registered. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you for coming and providing us with your comments. The hearing is adjourned. However, as I stated earlier, the written comments will be accepted until 5 p.m. April 1st, 2025. And the second public hearing, which will be the same information, will be next Wednesday, March 26th at 5:30 p.m. Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.